The presidential seal, a symbol of power, democracy, and the enduring strength of the American ideal. But what happens when that ideal is tested? When the very fabric of our nation is stretched thin by division, anger, and hate? An assassination attempt on a former president, a moment frozen in time that sent shockwaves across the country. In today's episode, we delve into the unthinkable, the top 5 reasons behind the assassination attempt on former President Donald Trump. Strap in as we uncover the motives that shook the nation. Reason number 1, political controversy. From divisive policies to inflammatory rhetoric, the political landscape has been a battleground of ideas and emotions. Donald Trump's presidency polarized the nation like never before, creating a stark divide among the American populace. Trump's rise to power was meteoric, fueled by a wave of populist anger and economic anxiety that resonated with many. He tapped into a deep vein of resentment, giving voice to those who felt ignored by the political establishment and left behind by globalization. But his message, often laced with harsh language and controversial statements, also alienated and enraged millions across the country. His policies, from the border wall to the Muslim travel ban, sparked fierce debate and mass protests, highlighting the deep divisions within the nation. His use of social media further inflamed tensions, often bypassing traditional media outlets and speaking directly to his supporters, unfiltered and unrestrained. The political climate grew increasingly toxic, with both sides retreating further into their respective corners, unwilling to find common ground. Civil discourse broke down, replaced by a torrent of vitriol and name-calling, making constructive dialogue nearly impossible. Trump's opponents viewed him as a demagogue, a threat to democracy itself, someone who undermined the very foundations of the republic. His supporters, however, saw him as a savior, a disruptor fighting for the forgotten man, someone who challenged the status quo and spoke truth to power. This deep polarization created a breeding ground for extremism, fueling a sense of desperation and a belief that the other side was a threat to America. The resulting atmosphere of distrust and hostility has left the nation more divided than ever, with no clear path to reconciliation in sight. Reason number 2, personal vendettas. Donald Trump's bold demeanor and outspoken nature made him a magnet for personal grudges. In the cutthroat world of business and politics, Trump amassed his share of enemies. His brash negotiating style and penchant for public humiliation left a trail of bruised egos and simmering resentments. His personal life, often splashed across the tabloids, provided further fodder for animosity. Failed marriages, public spats, and allegations of misconduct created a perception of a man who lived by his own rules. For those who felt wronged by Trump, the desire for revenge could fester into something dark and dangerous. The anonymity of the internet provided a breeding ground for this rage. Online forums became echo chambers where grievances were amplified and calls for violence found receptive ears. Beyond the online world, Trump's personal feuds spilled over into the real world, creating a climate of fear and intimidation. The attempt on Trump's life served as a stark reminder of the volatility of personal vendettas and how easily personal grievances can metastasize into something far more dangerous. Chapter 3. The fault lines of ideological conflict. Reason number 3, ideological conflict. Trump's stance on issues such as immigration, gun control, and climate change stirred deep-seated ideological divisions. His policies and rhetoric often acted as a lightning rod, drawing both fervent support and vehement opposition. His hardline stance on immigration and rhetoric demonizing immigrants resonated with some who felt their way of life was under threat. They believed that strict immigration policies were necessary to preserve national security and cultural identity. But for others, Trump's policies were a betrayal of America's values as a nation of immigrants. They saw his actions as xenophobic and contrary to the principles of diversity and inclusion that the country was built upon. The debate over gun control also reached a fever pitch during Trump's presidency. The nation was deeply divided on how to address the epidemic of gun violence. Mass shootings became tragically commonplace, yet the political will to enact meaningful gun control measures seemed elusive. Each incident reignited the debate, but consensus remained out of reach. Trump's response to these tragedies frustrated gun control advocates, who saw him as beholden to the gun lobby. They felt that his administration's inaction was a direct result of influence from powerful interest groups. Climate change became yet another wedge issue during Trump's presidency. The scientific consensus on the urgency of the climate crisis clashed with political and economic interests. His decision to withdraw from the Paris Climate Agreement and his rollback of environmental regulations were met with dismay by those who believe urgent action is needed. Environmentalists warned that these moves would have long-term detrimental effects on the planet. These ideological battles, playing out against a hyper-partisan media landscape, further poisoned public discourse. The media often amplified divisions, making it harder for people to find common ground. Nuance and compromise were replaced by rigid ideology and a refusal to acknowledge the humanity of the other side. This polarization made constructive dialogue increasingly difficult. The attempt on Trump's life highlights the danger of allowing ideological differences to fester into hatred and violence. It serves as a stark reminder of the potential consequences of extreme partisanship. We must find a way to bridge the divides that separate us, to engage in respectful dialogue and to find common ground. Only through understanding and cooperation can we hope to heal the fractures in our society and move forward together. Chapter 4. The weight of the presidency. Reason number 4, mental health issues. The stress and pressure of the presidency can take a toll on anyone, including Donald Trump. The Oval Office, often referred to as the loneliest job in the world, can be a pressure cooker. The constant scrutiny, relentless pace, and weight of responsibility all take their toll. For Trump, the transition from business to politics may have been particularly jarring. The presidency is a crucible, testing the limits of one's physical and mental endurance. Sleep deprivation, poor diet, lack of exercise, and constant bombardment of information can contribute to stress and anxiety. The attempt on Trump's life should serve as a reminder of the importance of mental health, not just for presidents, but for all of us. We must create a culture where seeking help is seen as a sign of strength, not weakness. Chapter 5. Ripples on the world stage. In this chapter, we delve into the profound and far-reaching effects of Donald Trump's presidency on the global stage. Reason number 5. Global impact. The world watched closely as Trump's policies and actions sent ripples across continents, affecting international relations and global dynamics. Donald Trump's presidency wasn't just a national affair. It had reverberations around the world. His decisions and rhetoric influenced not only American citizens, but also global leaders and populations. From the halls of power in Brussels to the marketplaces of Beijing, Trump's America First policies sent shockwaves across the globe. These policies challenged the status quo and forced nations to reassess their relationships with the United States. Allies questioned America's commitment to long-standing alliances. Adversaries sensed an opportunity to exploit perceived American weakness. This created a complex web of shifting alliances and rivalries. Trump's disdain for multilateralism and his withdrawal from international agreements upended long-held assumptions about America's role in the world. Agreements on climate change, trade, and security were all thrown into disarray. His approach to foreign policy, often characterized by impulsiveness, alarmed career diplomats and foreign policy experts. The unpredictability of his actions made it difficult for other nations to plan their own strategies. His personal relationships with world leaders often seemed driven more by personal chemistry than by strategic considerations. This led to a mix of strong alliances and unexpected tensions. This unorthodox approach resonated with some who felt that America had for too long been taken advantage of. They saw Trump's actions as a necessary correction to decades of perceived exploitation, but for others, Trump's foreign policy was reckless and dangerous, undermining America's standing in the world. Critics argued that his actions alienated allies and emboldened adversaries. The attempt on Trump's life highlighted the global impact of his presidency and the interconnectedness of the world. It was a stark reminder of how deeply intertwined global politics had become. It showed how even an event on American soil could have far-reaching consequences. The ripple effects of such incidents were felt in diplomatic circles and on the streets of cities worldwide. The need for diplomacy, dialogue, and understanding has never been greater. In a world where actions in one country can have profound impacts elsewhere, fostering international cooperation is essential for global stability and peace. In conclusion, the reasons behind the attempted assassination of Donald Trump are as complex as they are troubling. From political strife and personal vendettas to global implications and mental health concerns, the incident serves as a stark reminder of the volatile nature of modern politics. The attempt on his life should serve as a wake-up call, a moment for reflection, and a time to ask ourselves some difficult questions. How did we get here? How do we move forward? Can a nation so divided ever truly heal? Join us next time as we explore more pressing issues that shape our world. Until then, stay informed and stay safe.